Estás escuchando La Voz Hispana Radio.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon on this beautiful Monday. We're ready in the spring season. Hard to believe there was snow not too long ago. And so thank you for listening. Together we can, Juntos Podemos. Buenas tardes, a las 3:30 seguiremos en español. Por favor, estén con nosotros a las 3:30 para en español y sigue con nosotros en inglés en este momento. My name is Caprice Taylor Mendez. Here on the show. Thank you, Will. That is awesome. Mil gracias. I love that special effect. Oh my goodness. I wish I could have that every time I open my mouth at home. Applause. Oh, kidding. Pues, estaba diciendo que me gustaría tener ese aplauso cada vez que digo algo en la casa. Pues, today's show, it is not about me, but about you. Today, as a listener of this program, where we celebrate co-creators of a kinder and more just world, I want to thank you for all that you do every day and the way that you show up every day in creating that kinder world. And today's show is to highlight some of the tools that you have at your disposal as champions of a kinder and more just world. One of them being that every 20 years, as folks know, there is the census count. So 2020 is a big year, but census conversations are happening now because we have to prepare to make sure that everyone is counted who lives and resides in the United States of America. It is so important that you are counted and that you support your neighbors and your friends. And if you have children in the school, that all of the children and their families are counted. If you work in any industry, whether it's or for-profit, non-profit, business sector, the non-profit sector, assuring that as many people who reside in Greater New Haven are counted. 10 years, that information, that data, then impacts the redistribution of money that we give on a regular basis, paying taxes, whether it's we're paying for service or products and or our income, we get taxed, and that money gets pulled back into the government, whether it's municipal level, state level, or federal level, knowing that now it's tax season. So those dollars that they took away, we co-invest as a society to say we're going to pool our money together for the common good. Now, whether or not our money goes towards the common good, that's where you, if you have the privilege to vote, get to exercise the power of your vote and say how that money should be utilized. But another way of having a voice and a vote is to be counted when the census happens. So beginning in early 2019, around March, April, that is when we should be receiving more information of the census. So April 1st is the National Census Day, where across the country you'll hear a lot happening around the census and being counted. Here in Connecticut, the University of George Washington in Washington, D.C., did a report looking at the dollars coming in from the federal government to Connecticut in whatever way that comes through. Medical assistance program, Medicare Part B, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, Highway Planning and Construction Dollars, Section 8 Housing Choice Vouchers, Title I grants to local education agencies, special education grants, low-income home energy assistance programs, funding for the Head Start, early Head Start programs, funding in support of foster care, funding in support of health center programs, community migrant, homeless, public housing. Included in that, state children's health insurance program, known as CHIP, supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children, known as WIC, child care development fund entitlement programs. These are the categories that are money that goes to the federal government and then comes back to the state of Connecticut. Those are some of the buckets, and total amount of money that came to, or obligations to, Connecticut from this assessment done in fiscal year 2015. It ended up being about $2,214 per capita, meaning based on the 2010 census, and looking at all the obligations that federal assistance programs distribution from the federal government to Connecticut in fiscal year 2015, it was about $2,214 per capita. So 2010 census, those who raised their hand and counted and got counted, thank you. Because of you, we've had funding for our community health clinics for being counted in 2010. Because of you, there were people who were not homeless because Section 8 existed. Families who, young children, being able to have a safe space to rest their heads because you were counted in 2010. So all of these different programs, because people were counted. So we know that the 2020 census has some difficulty already before it even got started. There's the question around the U.S. citizenship question that was all of a sudden included with the new administration and their department heads. They wanted to count whether or not you were a U.S. citizen in a household. Now, what is the big controversy? The big controversy is when you take and add on a new question, the census has a process to try to assure that the question would not be at all indicating a particular opinion or telling people, insisting that they respond in a certain way, verifying that the question is as non-biased as possible, verifying that the question is understandable, like what is being asked will measure what one truly wants to measure, understanding that the question will not water down the Census Bureau's capacity to ensure that everyone is counted in the United States. And there are a variety of reasons why these questions get tested before they're added into the U.S. Census questionnaire. And that U.S. citizenship question was not tested. And there are litigation cases at this time trying to stop that question from being added onto the census because it was not thoroughly vetted according to the Census Bureau's process. On the other hand, when you put the citizenship question in the context of what is happening in this country and the policies that are coming out of the White House and out of Washington, D.C., impacting all of us, including here in Greater New Haven, mass efforts of deportation, trying to deport as many immigrants as possible, and I would even say not even undocumented immigrants. There's a push to seek even immigrants who have green card, permanent residency, but have broken the law in some way, and trying to push those individuals out as well. There is a negative connotation of being an immigrant, especially from Latin America, so that makes it rather racist. So there's a lot of racism, anti-immigrant sentiments, a push for anti-immigrant policies, including policies against refugees and Muslims. So when you put, are you a U.S. citizen, into the U.S. Census survey that goes to your house, that goes to people's homes, that could actually create a lot of fear. So the question itself is not a neutral question. It's very politicized in the climate that we're in. And there's a sense that people are afraid of completing the census because of that question. So I've actually had the opportunity to engage with a U.S. Census Bureau staffer from the national level, as well as U.S. Census staffer at the statewide level. And I asked the following: if a person skips a question or two, would the Census Bureau come knocking on their door or dismiss the survey because one or two questions have been skipped? And the Census Bureau staffer said, no, we will not dismiss a survey because one or two questions have been skipped. We will count that survey even if one or two questions have been skipped. In the past, historically, we have not thrown out surveys that were incomplete one or two questions. So the census survey would be valid even if one or two questions are not counted. Another controversy as well, I heard from a colleague, some folks within the Asian American community might have hesitation of answering the question around their ethnicity because in the past we placed Japanese Americans in the Japanese internment camps in California, removing all property that they owned from those families and forcibly removing them from their homes and placing them in internment camps and taking away any wealth that they had built as families, removing children from schools. It was horrible. And so within the Asian American community, there's also hesitation with the rise in racism coming from our aisles of power in D.C. So if one or two questions are skipped, the Census Bureau said we won't necessarily throw out the census survey that people completed except for one or two questions. And it's important to note the U.S. Constitution requires the federal government to count everyone living in the country every 10 years. This is part of the U.S. Constitution, which is the bedrock of our democracy, and which also says, though, it is protected at that level if there are institutions or individuals trying to stop people from doing the census, from completing the census. It is a federal crime. And so we want as many people to get counted as much as possible. Historically, there are hard to count pockets. There's data proving New Haven is one of those urban centers in the state of Connecticut that is hard to count. So that in Connecticut, historically, pockets of New Haven, pockets of Bridgeport, pockets of Hartford have a higher number of concentration of population that are often not counted in the census. Another groups of people who are hard to count are families with young children, individuals who are transient, meaning that they move from different apartments to another apartment, and there's no judgment on my part. I've moved, this Sunday will be number 20. It will be my 20th move, and I hope that it will be the last. But having to move to make sure that when rent goes up, you find something that's affordable. And it makes it harder to count for the census. Those types of situations. If you're homeless, if you are an immigrant and English is not your first language, these are some of the folks in our community that will need extra support to be counted. And so there are efforts underway, nonprofit partners wanting to assure that our most vulnerable community members are counted. Those who've been historically marginalized from political power are counted. Individuals who are formerly incarcerated, as well as another group of our community that might have difficulty being counted. And when you look at $2,214 for each person who we have residing here, we need to make sure as many of our folks get counted, not just for the money, but also our legislative representation depends on it in Washington, D.C. So Connecticut as a state, we have more people moving out of state to live in another state than birth rates. If it were not for our immigrant population moving in, not just from another state, but from other countries, we would have seen ourselves lose congressional seats in Washington, D.C., meaning that Connecticut as a state would lose power to make sure that our needs are met in national discussions. And so with the census, the 2020 census, the numbers are even more precarious, and we need to make sure everyone, including our immigrant community members, are counted. So if for more information, please stay tuned. We'll give you more census updates as we continue, especially in the month of April. So April 1st, you can start the conversation on getting people counted. Again, just some highlights: nutritional assistance for the elderly, low-income housing, coastal zone management. All those things are funded through federal dollars, which are really our dollars going to the federal government, coming back to the state. We want to make sure we get as much of our money back into the wonderful state of Connecticut. And this show is also about your power that you have, and we cannot forget that you have voter power. For those of you who are over the age of 18, you are eligible to vote if you are a U.S. citizen, not DACA, not U.S. Resident. You have to be a U.S. citizen. And the last day to register to vote in person for the primary for 2019 is Monday, September 9th by 12 p.m. And why even bother to vote in time for the primary for 2019? Well, because do not forget, we have a big mayoral race going to happen in 2019. And we already know that our mayor, Tony Harp, is looking to run for re-election. And we already know that there are opponents within the Democratic Party that are going to run in opposition. And if you want to be part of the Democratic primary conversation, meaning the primary is where historically in New Haven, the mayoral election actually counts the most. Because it's Democratic dominant, the primary candidate for the Democratic Party will most likely be the mayor of New Haven. So if you're independent, which is a party, if you're unaffiliated, meaning that you do not belong to any party, or if you belong to the Republican Party and you want a vote in regards to who will be the mayor, only those who are registered as Democrats can have a vote for the Democratic primaries. So the last day to register to vote in person for the primary is Monday, September 9th, 2019 by 12 p.m. So put that in your calendar. Get down to New Haven City Hall to register to vote in person. You can also go under voterregistration.ct.gov online using your Connecticut license or ID number. And you can also call 203-946-8035 if you have any questions. And another important date is June 10th, 2019. And this date is the last date to party transfer for the municipal primary. So if you had already registered to vote or you're planning on registering to vote and you want to transfer parties for the reasons that I stated earlier, June 10th, 2019 is the date. And it's important to hold our elected officials accountable on the issues that we care about. So voting is just one of the first key primary steps for the new election year and beyond. And Greater New Haven Vote, an initiative in Greater New Haven, registered about 1,000 people, new registrars, individuals who didn't vote before or had relocated into the area and wanting to vote, often for the very first time. They said they cared about immigration, criminal justice reform, second chance reentry, housing, education, and healthcare. And there are legislative initiatives at the State House at this time that require individuals to follow up on. And for people who want to know what are the bills at the State House, you could actually go to the Connecticut website. We'll have that posted on Facebook when we come back from the break. And you can go into the website. You can actually track a bill. We'll have it posted on the on our Facebook page. If you're interested in, you can track a bill through the state government's website. Some of those bills that you might be interested in is in support of implementing bilingual education in the schools. And so you go into the Connecticut General Assembly and you can pull down where it says bill info. Go to bill tracking, and then you have to set up the very last one, sign up for bill tracking, el último, the third bullet, el punto, el tercero, and right there you put in your contact info, you put in keywords of interest that you're interested in tracking. So if you say bilingual education, you type that in. You will start receiving an email of what is happening at the State House in relation to all these bills. So some that might be of interest is bilingual education in Connecticut. Right now they're seeking to allocate $7 million in support of implementing bilingual education. There's also a push for public option effort for healthcare in Connecticut, supported by Protect Our Care Connecticut and with support from Others and Others for Justice and Connecticut Students for a Dream. There's the paid family medical leave to include all family structures, including LGBTQ with chosen family members. And we'll continue listing through some of these important bills that you might want to continue following at the State House. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back after this break.
Mari Carmen Godoy de la Voz Hispana de Connecticut y quiero invitarles a todos ustedes al gran concierto anual de Intempo, Cruzando las Culturas. Este año el concierto será de música klezmer, además habrá danzas y música de toda América Latina. Los niños de la Orquesta Sinfónica Juvenil de la ciudad, junto con los niños de INTEC, harán música en honor a la cultura latinoamericana, a la cultura anglosajona, a la cultura judía. No se olviden, tienen ustedes una cita junto conmigo este sábado 30 de septiembre a las 7 de la noche en la sala de conciertos de la Norwalk City Hall, 125 East Avenue en Norwalk. Por favor, acompáñennos.
Community Health Center Inc. estrena nuevo centro médico en el 22 de Fifth Street en Stanford. Todos los servicios médicos, pediátricos, de atención urgente y de salud mental en nuestro nuevo edificio con amplio estacionamiento. En Community Health Center Inc. creemos que tu salud es un derecho, no un privilegio. Community Health Center Inc. 22 de Fifth Street en Stanford, Connecticut. 203-323-8160.
Te contamos la lucha sin cuartel para salvar a la vaquita marina. Este es tu mundo verde. En México, las autoridades ambientales lanzaron una estrategia para combatir la pesca furtiva de las vaquitas marinas. Los expertos dijeron el miércoles que solo 22 vaquitas marinas permanecen en el Golfo de California, donde se libra una batalla sombría y cada vez más violenta entre los pescadores envalentonados y la última línea de defensa para la marsopa más pequeña y en peligro de extinción del mundo. Jorge Urbán, profesor de biología en la Universidad de Baja California Sur, dijo que las 22 vaquitas se escucharon en una red de monitores acústicos. De hecho, eso era más alto de lo que muchos habían esperado. Algunos estimaron que tan solo 15 permanecerían en el Golfo, también conocido como el Mar de Cortés, el único lugar en el mundo donde se encuentra la vaquita. Delimitarán una zona de protección con boyas para que el límite del perímetro sea visible. La estrategia tiene 5 ejes de trabajo en los que se incluyen el desarrollo comunitario y el monitoreo de ecosistemas. El plan busca combatir el tráfico ilegal de la totoaba, otro pez natural del Golfo de México, y busca fortalecer la pesca sustentable y responsable. Marisabel Houston, CNN, Atlanta.
Estás escuchando La Voz Hispana Radio.
Gracias por estar con nosotros. Estamos hablando esta tarde sobre su fuerza. Tenemos la fuerza para los quienes tienen el privilegio en poder votar. Hay que no solamente votar, pero también hay que exigir de nuestros representativos a que nos representen en los asuntos de importancia de nuestras vidas y para nuestra comunidad, incluyendo a nivel estatal. Y con este reporte hoy en día quisiera compartir algunos esfuerzos en promover legislación a nivel estatal que está impactando a nuestra comunidad. Y estaba diciendo en inglés que hay una legislación que tenemos campeones empujando para que sea realidad. $7 millones en apoyo para implementar la educación bilingüe en Connecticut. Y los líderes en eso, NHLCL, con el reverendo Abraham Hernández, miembros de los soñadores, Connecticut Students for a Dream, que están empujando para mejorar la educación bilingüe aquí en Connecticut. I was just stating some of the information that provided in English around the bills at the legislative level. There's also the Trust Act to prohibit all communication between Connecticut law enforcement and ICE. También están tratando de prohibir comunicación de cualquier tipo entre los oficiales de ley aquí en Connecticut y con los de inmigración, a prohibir cualquier tipo de comunicación entre esas dos entidades. Y eso se llama el acto de confianza, Trust Act. Por el momento están viendo si puede salirse del comité judicial, y si sale, yo creo que hubo un voto la semana pasada que salió de el comité judicial a nivel estatal, y por el momento están esperando para el día que haya un voto con todos los representantes a nivel estatal, legislativos a nivel estatal. Y por el momento se está viendo bien positivo. So there's the push for the Trust Act. From my understanding, last week it got out of the Judicial Committee, and they're looking to be able to move it for a vote by the full legislative body at the State House, and prohibiting all communication between Connecticut law enforcement and ICE. There is Assistant Chief Casanova who actually testified, and as a police officer, as someone who has made a lifetime career of enforcing law and order in our communities, actually stated the Trust Act will support with that goal. So having immigrants being able to feel safe when a crime is committed against them and their property, being able to work with law enforcement to make sure that those who committed the crime are held under the law and prevented from hurting others. And so if you're an immigrant, you might fear doing that if ICE, working with police, if ICE is actually working very closely with police, because then instead of protecting you, there are cases and situations then where the police then break a family apart, because then ICE gets involved, immigration comes and could separate your family if you don't have the right status, immigration status. And so there are real crimes that we need to work with the police and be vigilant about, and not having your immigration status is not under the rules a crime. It is actually federal regulation that you're not adhering to. So because you don't have your papers does not make you a criminal. That's really important to note. También está diciendo de que en no tener sus papeles, el estatus inmigratorio correcto, no le hace uno automáticamente ser un criminal, que eso es que uno no está haciendo las reglas de inmigración, pero no es un criminal debajo de como la definición que tenemos aquí sobre las leyes de justicia. Pues hay otro que están en conversación, y esto es para tener una sentencia de 364 días no más si uno comete un crimen, a nivel de misdemeanor se llama. There is another bill at the State House, the 364-day Sentencing Commission bill, that is hoping to allow for someone who commits a misdemeanor crime to serve 365 days in lieu of a 365-day sentence. So with 1 day less, serving 1 day less, those who are pushing for this are stating if someone commits a misdemeanor crime and they serve their time, currently in the state of Connecticut, if their time was allotted to 365 days and they served it, not only would they have served the time, but they will then pay for the crime for the rest of their lives, including themselves and their families. Because a 365-day sentence in the state of Connecticut currently for misdemeanor crime, if you are not a U.S. citizen, meaning you could have resided in Connecticut for over 30 years with a green card, with permanent residency, but you served a 365-day sentence, automatically the federal government, federal laws will allow for immigration enforcement to step in and remove you from this country forever and not be able to come back. So there's the push to say if for those that serve 365 or whatever that judgment is, to just change it to 364 days. So extreme repayment of that crime does not include severancing, just destroying a family, removing someone from their community. And so that is the push for 364 Sentencing Commission. Por el momento están viendo si se puede cambiar en la manera en la cual la cortes aquí en Connecticut, en lugar de sentenciar a alguien por 365 días, que si pueden cambiarlo a que sea por 364 días, un día menos, porque por el momento a nivel federal existe una ley, si alguien comete un crimen y de allí lo juzgan y están sentenciados para 365 días, automáticamente el gobierno federal autoriza a inmigración a tomar parte y de allí autorizan la deportación automática de una persona que fue sentenciada por 365 días. Y no importa qué tipo de crimen, simplemente por tener una sentencia de 365 días o más. Entonces aquí a nivel estatal hay otros estados que hicieron lo mismo. Están pidiendo los legisladores a cambiar que si van a ver una sentencia de 365 días por cualquier crimen, que nomás sea de 364, para que de ahí, de esa manera, inmigración a nivel federal, esa ley no puede ser implementada, y a proteger a que la persona todavía pueda regresar a su comunidad, estar con su familia y no sufrir por el resto de su vida si llega inmigración y los deporta. Y por el momento tienen victoria en que ya salió del comité judicial a nivel legislativo aquí, a nivel estatal, y todavía hay que ver un voto de todos los legisladores en Hartford. Y también se está buscando para ver si se puede conseguir tiempo libre para los trabajadores quienes necesitan que asistir a familias por razones médicas. Y esta ley está buscando para otorgarle este derecho a los miembros de la comunidad LGBTQ, para los miembros de la comunidad que tienen familias de diferente género. En lugar de decir nomás un hombre y una mujer que tengan una familia, pueden obtener tiempo libre por emergencias médicas para cuidar a su ser querido. Esta ley está diciendo que la estructura familiar no está limitado nomás entre una pareja que sea de opuestos géneros, pero que también debe de poder incluir familias que son del mismo género. Y por el momento eso está en conversación. Y también están viendo para aumentar el acceso de lo que se llama PrEP. Es medicamento, una droga que ha comprobado si hay personas de alto riesgo por comportamiento que puede aumentar el riesgo al SIDA. Si uno toma este medicamento que se llama PrEP, disminuye el riesgo de contratar el SIDA. Y hay un esfuerzo viendo si los jóvenes menores de edad, de teenagers, menores de edad, si pueden tener acceso a este mismo medicamento. Y es decir, los jóvenes quienes están a riesgo de contratar SIDA por su comportamiento probablemente no tienen una buena relación con los padres en casa. Y por el momento, para que un joven obtenga ese tipo de medicamento, requiere el permiso del padre o el guardián legal de ese joven. Y eso quiere decir que aumenta el riesgo de los jóvenes quienes no tienen una buena relación con sus padres en obtener el SIDA, sabiendo que existe un medicamento que les puede salvar la vida. Y están proponiendo a que los jóvenes mismos tengan el derecho de pedir por ese medicamento sin el permiso del padre. Y están viendo si eso se puede conseguir aquí en Connecticut. Pues esos son uno de los temas importantes a nivel legislativo aquí en Connecticut. Vamos a seguir dándoles más información, pero si a ustedes les interesa saber cómo buscar información cuando ustedes tengan tiempo en su computadora, pueden entrar a la página del gobierno de Connecticut que se llama Connecticut General Assembly y buscar en nuestra página aquí en Facebook en vivo. Pueden ver lo que mi compañero Will está haciendo y pueden seguir esos pasos y buscar donde dice Bill Info, información de legislación. Y cuando entren ahí van a seleccionar Bill Tracking, siguiendo la legislación. Y el último punto clave de Bill Tracking en esa página, ahí pueden ingresar su nombre, correo electrónico y su información para recibir en su teléfono información de ciertos esfuerzos legislativos, o si no también en su correo electrónico. Y por ejemplo, yo acabo de hacer eso y de ahí le piden a uno palabras claves. Yo puse inmigración y automáticamente empecé a recibir información sobre esfuerzos legislativos a nivel estatal sobre asuntos de inmigración. And so with the CJA website, Connecticut General Assembly, you can track for legislation of interest, and you can put in keywords. And there are bills right now at the State House that actually go against some of the values from the bills that I just mentioned. So there are those who are trying to create law enforcement to operate like ICE in Connecticut that would be detrimental to the safety of all. And so we have to be vigilant and let our representatives know where we stand. Y hay que mantenernos al día con lo que está pasando a nivel estatal y comunicar con nuestros representativos la importancia del voto de ellos sobre estas propuestas a nivel estatal, porque nos impacta acá en nuestras vidas diarias. Y antes de terminar nuestro programa de hoy, quería también informarles de que el año 2019 vamos a seguir con nuestro voto. Queremos que los que se pueden registrar para votar tienen que ser ciudadanos y cumplir 18 años el día antes de poder votar. Y para el año 2019 vamos a tener elecciones para por el momento nuestra alcaldesa está buscando ser reelegida y también tiene personas que van a luchar contra ella para ser el nuevo alcalde de New Haven. Entonces, este verano va a ser caliente. Y para registrarse, el último día de poder registrarse es el 9 de septiembre y a las 12 de la tarde es el último día de poder registrarse para tener un voto en la primaria, porque esta elección se sabe que se va a decidir por medio de la primaria, porque acá la historia de New Haven a nivel, el puesto de alcalde se ha ganado por medio de la persona que gana del Partido Demócrata, y eso es el proceso de las primarias. Y para tener un voto hay que inscribirse para registrarse para votar antes del 9 de septiembre, y cualquier pregunta que uno tenga pueden llamar a 203-946-8035 y pueden llegar en persona para poder votar en la 200 de la calle Orange Street, aquí en City Hall, aquí en New Haven, en el centro de New Haven. Y por si acaso uno ya se registró, no se ha mudado, ya está listo. Solamente si uno no se registró debajo del Partido Demócrata y quiere tener un voz y voto, hay que cambiar el partido que uno decidió el día que se registró. Y si uno pidió por el partido independiente, eso es un partido. Si uno no quisiera ser afiliado, eso es ser no afiliado. Si uno se registró independiente, eso sí es un partido. Para no tener afiliación, es no afiliación. Y si uno fue independiente o afiliado, no afiliado, desea tener un voz y voto para esta elección de alcalde, hay que registrarse de nuevo cambiando el partido. Entonces, para hacer eso lo tienen que hacer antes del 10 de junio. Y también en el mes de abril, el 1 de abril, vamos a estar hablando del census. Ya van a escuchar más empezando del 1 de abril, pero el census nos sale hasta 2020. Más o menos el 1 de abril van a recibir información en su casa del census. Va a haber un documento que llenar en su casa que lo van a mandar por correo, pero antes del 1 de abril lo van a mandar por la computadora. Se va a mandar por correo electrónico, tratando de comunicarse con todas las casas, a todos los hogares, y no importa el estatus inmigratorio de uno, pero sí importa que cada ser humano sea contado, porque la información del census nos otorga dinero para apoyar a nuestras escuelas, para apoyar nuestras clínicas de salud, para apoyar comidas, almuerzos para los jóvenes en las escuelas públicas, para apoyar Head Start, asistencia de energía, varios programas que en verdad aportan para el bienestar de nuestra comunidad. Vamos a seguir hablando un poco más del census, pero hemos preguntado si uno puede llenar el census y si uno se olvida contestar 1 o 2 preguntas, si van a deshacerse de esa información porque fue incompleta. Y los trabajadores del census a nivel nacional y a nivel del estado me han contado de que nunca han tirado o eliminado las contestas de la comunidad, las respuestas de la comunidad si ciertas respuestas fueron incompletas. Siempre lo han contado y siempre lo van a seguir contando, aunque uno se olvidó dar una respuesta entre 1 y 2 preguntas, que sí vale la pena llenar la encuesta porque sí necesitamos esos fondos para apoyar a nuestras comunidades. La información del census va a impactar por 10 años, no solamente el dinero que llega de nuestros bolsillos hacia el gobierno federal y regresa acá a Connecticut por medio del census. Y es importante por 10 años que esa información que colectan en 2020 va a impactar por 10 años el dinero que regresa y también el poder legislativo. Eso dice cuánta gente vive por estado y de allí dividen a nivel nacional cuántos asientos, cuántos representantes a nivel nacional legislativos tendremos como un estado. Y gracias a los inmigrantes que han llegado y decidieron a tener a Connecticut como su hogar, su nuevo hogar, Connecticut no ha perdido voz y voto a nivel nacional, pero sí está en riesgo. Si los inmigrantes no tenemos la fuerza, no nos sentimos confortables con el census, podemos perder mucho. Y eso es parte del plan. Muchos creen que la administración quieren que los latinos, los inmigrantes, no tengan suficiente coraje para ser contados en el census, porque de esa manera lugares como Connecticut, que tenemos una voz más progresista, más para el bienestar de todos, no solamente del bolsillo de uno, perderemos poder a nivel nacional. Y lugares como Nueva York también, lugares como California, y eso no se puede dejar, eso no puede suceder. Y nosotros mismos tenemos el poder a decir, no vamos a dejar que la administración utilice el miedo para parar a que nosotros tengamos por 10 años más el poder que tenemos a nivel nacional aquí con el estado de Connecticut. Necesitamos ser contados y no solamente es una necesidad, pero es nuestro derecho como ser humano. Y gracias por estar con nosotros este lunes tan bello y espero que nos pueden escuchar otra vez de nuevo a las 3 en inglés y a las 3:30 en español, aquí con la voz hispana, Together We Can, Juntos Podemos. Mi nombre es Caprice.